Good morning, Rabbi Isai. It says like this, when you first mentioned about the bells of software a while ago, I didn't take the time to write to you that this does not exist and has nothing to do with reality. But I figured it's good content for the shiur. But today when you said, the bells don't hear it anyway, I have to speak up already. As a proud Zechus, you have no idea how many bells will listen to your shiur daily. Don't underestimate yourself. Thanks for everything and thanks for being the best and greatest magid out there. Your Talmud and proud Zechus, Shruly Wolkenstein Borough Park. So I looked into it. So bells doesn't have their own software, but they ride on another software. They do use this software here in Eretz Yisrael at least. So I'll get back to you, Shruly, exactly what it is. I forgot what it's called. Do you know the name? It's like other people use it as well. Thanks so much for your encouragement and effort to make Yevamos meaningful and understandable. I'm not ready for a test, but your non-stop encouragement has been very helpful to me. I just caught up again and realized through the shiur that I made it past the halfway point. If it wasn't for your constant support and creativity, I'm not confident I would still be with the Daf. Ronnie Sterling. Moshe Engel. Oh, this is a long one. What time is it? Okay. I started listening to Rebelli shiur at the end of Seder Moed mostly to see what it's about. I'm hooked. I listened to Yevamos on the way to work. What are they doing? What do they see over there?
Mark was on like half an hour.
Oh, okay. Baruch Hashem, I don't have any extreme stories of not learning anything since Yeshiva, etc. I'm actually one of those people who probably wouldn't go to your shiur if it was in my neighborhood. Not an insult or compliment, just a fact. But I have to say, I don't think there's another style shiur that would keep me motivated to listen every single day as rebellions. One day when the shiur was a little delayed in coming, I listened to a different shiur and I was thinking how the regular give-over is more my style learning. After 15-20 minutes, however, I realized that there's no way I could do this every day. When I make up for missed days, Shabbos, Sunday, I have to listen to the whole shiur, including emails, sponsors, and everything Rebelli has to offer. You hear, Mendy? Everything, even emails he listens to. It's unbelievable. I guess you can call me cult evaded. My main reason sending these emails is because Rebelli went to TAC for nursery. So did I. I still live in Farakwe now. There was somebody here. What was his name? Hirth. Heshi Hirth was here the other day. And he also went to TAG. Kitzers. By the way, my oldest daughter and I have the same nursery assistant, had the same. I hope Rebelli will come to visit his hometown. I go to Farakwe all the time. Don't know if this goes. Keep on doing amazing. Ignore the naysayers. Moshe Engel. All right, Rabbi Isai, here we go. Today is still the 29th day of the Omer. We counted last night. Do we say it again? All right. Hayoim Tishves from Yoim Shemar Bosh voice. V'yem echad ba'omer. Lo'imer. Okay, Nusach Svardiks. The Koilol is sponsored Lzchus Shiduchim. Parnasah chodesh. The Nishmaster Zechrya Shimon HaKohen Wowlerstein Zechus Levrocha by his kids. Parnasah chodesh is Zechus Ahron Hatzlacha. You, the magid and the video editor of Hatzlacha Continuation. I'm missing a shiur. The Nishmaster Mitzu B'miyomin. Parnasah chodesh. Ahron Fraiman Lzchus continued parnasah siyadta dishmaya and Hatzlacha Rebelli. Yishkoyach. Parnasah chodesh. Boy, your family. The Nishmaster Rebelli. Yo, Ben Avraham Neir Yoy. A dear family friend, I can't believe you're sitting right next to me still. I'm trying to look over here. I'm trying to concentrate, but I see you. He loved them. The Weinberg A, part of the amazing Daf Yomi shiur. Parnasah chodesh, the Wolkenstein family. Ein Torah, ein Kemach in Torah. By the Lock and Lebovic families, Lakewood, New Jersey, because Torah is the best segulah. Wow. Parnasah chodesh, Lzchus Zechrya bas Yosef. Parnasah chodesh. I love that one. This is the best one. Parnasah chodesh, Lzchus Zechrya bas Yosef. End the story. Next. Parnasah chodesh, anonymously, HaKaras HaTov to Hashem as a Zechus for continued health and bracha. And, not a Parnasah chodesh, Shachar David, for the yard side of his mother, Julie David, Yehudis, Nechama Bas Yechiel. Wow, all three of them are here. Everybody say all three. I don't know what to do. I think there's more here. Let me see. No? Let me just make sure that I'm not missing any. I think there's more. Hold on. Yosef sent this to me. I'm not kidding. He was up to 3 a.m. Beloy Guzma. Yosef Biliak. Here we go. No, that's it. Yehudis Fruma Bas Yechiel. Okay, just in time. Daf Samach Tes Amud Aleph. If you weren't here last night, you're going to be surprised to learn that we are 11 lines down, only because I decided to go a little bit ahead. It's a shtickle aser, over iser, but we were over iser because today would be over iser anyway, not being able to finish the daf. So, mutav shu, I don't know what. Okay, today is daf samach tes. For some reason, Sfardim write, a lot of times they write samach tes. Svaradi tahor. Anybody else know a reason?
They were never Marana.
They're proud that they didn't turn into Maranos. So they write samach tes Svaradi tahor. Okay? Any other pshat? No? It's good enough for me. Okay. What do you say? Suffix tahor. No way! Okay, that's not what he meant. That's not what I heard. Okay, very good. Zok Daily Gemara. We're holding 11 lines down. Rebbe Akiva. Because it was basically the end of a sugya. We just finished off the sugya. It was the middle of a line, so we just went on. And if you didn't learn those 11 lines, most of them are redundant, or we learned them, most of it, like the Vav and the Darshan Vav on Amud Beis. So that's why we did it real quickly last night. So we learned that a guy who has relations with a yid passes that woman for truma, getting married to a kahyen, and then the Gemara all the way in the bottom, the last line on Amud Beis, Amud Beis, brings a pasuk about kahyen to see almano grusha. Says the Gemara of the Rebbe Akiva, the Omar in kiddushin toivsim b'chayv lavin. According to Rebbe Akiva, the kiddushin doesn't grab at all. Umay kisil ish zor. So let's just look at the pasuk here real quick. Ooh, there's more here. I forgot to show this. Okay, fine. Tomorrow. Next. Okay. That's one pasuk. So you have to, Kisiya is Kiddushin. Lizchus, she gets married to Ishzar, and then it says, so we learn from the second pasuk, Yud Gimel, this concept of marrying a guy doesn't work. It passes, marrying a guy, it passes for Truma. But according to Rebbe Akiva, who says the Kiddushin is not chal at all, so what does Kisiya mean? Ubas koyin Kisiya Lizchus. Says the Gemara, there's no Kiddushin, it doesn't grab, so what does Kisiya mean? Ki tibal. So it means, so let's read the pasuk. Ubas koyin Kisiya Lizchus, she had relations to any kind of zar, a guy included, a eved included, loy seichel. She can't eat truma. So if so, according to Rebbe Akiva, who has to learn the word kisiya means just relations, not kiddushin. So then why does he need the second pasuk Yud Gimel? We learn from that pasuk a guy, but it's already included according to Rebbe Akiva in the word kisiya because kiddushin doesn't grab. Says the Gemara, I'll tell you what he does with it. Almana lahachmir aleh, ugrusha lahakal aleh. That almana, even in a case where she has kids, a grusha, even in a case where she doesn't have kids, and the Gemara is going to explain. Utsricha, diashmin and almana. If the Torah only said almana hu dechid lesli zera achla, when almana doesn't have children, she could return and eat. So what happened? She was married, she didn't have children, she goes back to her father's house, who's a kohen, and she could eat. Mishom dechazi lekuuna. She's an almana, she can marry anybody in the world, any kohen she wants besides the kohen gadol. But a grusha who cannot marry any kohen, perhaps I would think that even if she doesn't have children, since she herself is possible, so that's enough. We said yesterday, right? There's a correlation between eating truma and getting married. It has to do with the psul of the body. So if she can't marry a kohen, something's wrong with her. If something's wrong with her, then maybe she can't eat truma either. So Chiddush is no, grusha could go back and eat truma like the end of the pasuk. V'yashmin and grusha, and if we would only say grusha hu dichi isla zera loyachla mishom deloychazel lekuna. Perhaps a grusha that has children, she can't eat truma. Why? Because she can't be married to a kohen. Almana the chazel lekuna have a havamina than almana who could marry into the guna. Hey, ma'avagav the isla zera nami teichel. I think that she could eat truma even though she has children. Kamash Mallah. That's why the Torah says mufurish and almana and a grusha according to Rebbe Akiva tzricha. Now the Gemara goes back and asks the kasha. Ve'ema nivala lepasula af machzek grushasa. We have, so let's see this right over here. Ubaz kohen kisil ishzar. Ishzar. Now, that also includes if somebody divorces his wife and she marries somebody else, so she becomes a zar. She's ishzar. She shouldn't be able to eat truma, but the halacha is she could eat truma. Maybe this machzek grushasa should be included with all the other psulim. Says the Gemara, Li'ish zara marachmana, mishazar etzla mikara. It means Li'ish zar, she got married to a zar, but she didn't get married to a zar. When she got married to this kohen, he wasn't a zar. Now he turned into a zar. But when she originally got married to him, she wasn't. Li'ish zara marachmana, mishazar etzla mikara. So Meila, that's why it's not included in the pasuk Ubas kohen kisil Li'ish zar.
Despite that, is there?
Yeah, she still eats. Nachamal. She was married to a kohen. She was able to eat truma. She was able to eat truma. Got divorced, and then got married to somebody else, and went back to the original guy. Despite the fact that we have a special meal that she could still eat truma. She's not included in all the isurim that we're talking about. A chalal who wasn't to begin with a zar, so maybe he shouldn't become possible. Now Rashi points out there's no isser of a chalal to get married to anybody. A chalal could get married even to a kohenes. You hear this? Chiddush. A chalal, let's say his mother was a zayna and married a kohen, so he's a chalal. He could get married to a kohenes. Just the kohenes can't eat truma anymore. There's no iser chasnos. So the shaila is yachi chal delav zaru mikara lo lifsal amakra lo yichalel zaroi ba'amav. So the word zaroi has two things in here. The zera of the kohen, the father. Zaroi is the zera itself. In one word, you have two people. Zaroi, the oi is referring to the kohen. The zera is referring to the child. Ba'amav. Makish zariloi. So in that one word, since we have both of them together, we do a hekesh. We have a hekesh to the kohen gadol, to the child of the kohen gadol. Mahu poisel, just like the kohen gadol if he marries an almana. What does he do? He makes it aser. She becomes aser in truma. Avzaroi nami poisel. So too. So we have a special hekesh. In a chanami, he shouldn't have been aser, but because we have a hekesh, we say he has the ability to pass a lot of people from eating truma. Says Gemara ve'ema mishas havaya. It says kisiya. Look at the top line. Ubas kohen kisiya. What does kisiya mean? Kiddushin. Where do we have that? I think it was, the top word on Daf Samaches Amud Aleph, Kanya B'Havaya. It means Kiddushin. Says the Gemara, Dumi the Kohen Gadol, Ba'almana. No, it's not Kiddushin that passes, it's the Bia that passes. Ma Kohen Gadol Ba'almana Be'Bia, Avai, Nami Be'Bia. As we see in the Pasuk, V'lo Yichalel Zaroi Ba'amav. What does it say? How do you become a chalal? Look at the pasuk very carefully. V'lo yichalel. How do you become a chalal? Zaroi. By having bia that has zera, that has a child, then that makes a chilul. Not just with kesef kiddushin. Yeah? Zog the Gemara, this is all from Rashi. Afai na bia. Veima adika havaya ubia. Maybe you need both kiddushin and bia, not just bia. Avhai nami bebil chuda is the bia that creates it, not the kiddushin gewaldig. Says the Gemara, Rabbi Yossi Omer, kol shezari pasul poisel, v'chol shein zari pasul einoi poisel. So we had a machlokes in the Mishnah. Take a look over here. In Gemara yesterday, sorry. So the headline is, who creates an Isra in a woman? You have a regular Yisraelis, a woman who has relations with somebody, she becomes Asr in Truma. Who did she have a relationship with? What type of person are we talking about? So the Tanna Kama says, we're talking about anybody who himself is puzzle. I don't look at the next generation. I don't look at his children. If he himself is puzzle, he's a Mamzer, Nasim, Kusi, all those, the whole list, Mitzri, Adoimi, Amoini Miyavi, whatever. They all have the ability to puzzle this woman, she can't eat Truma. Rabbi Yossi and Rabbi Shimon Gamliel argue. They say, no, we don't look at the person having the relations, we look at the next generation, what comes out of that relationship. So what's a nafkamina? Where is the nafkamina? So we have two nafkaminas here. And we mentioned them yesterday. Here's the Gemara. Ma'ika bein Tanna Kama Rabbi Yossi, or Rabbi Yochanan mitzri sheni v'adoimi sheni ike bein ayu. According to the Tanna Kama, the mitzri in his second generation, and the adoimi in the second generation, he's usher to be with a Yisraelis. So memela what? Since they had relations, she becomes puzzle, she can't eat truma. But according to Rabbi Yossi, we look at the next generation, we look at the tzitzayim. But it stops at the second generation. The third generation is already good. The royal of Bakal. So according to Rabbi Yossi, this mitzri, who shouldn't be with this woman because he's a sheni, he doesn't passel her. Yeah? Doesn't passel. Why? Because the children are kosher. And when the children are kosher, even though he himself is apostle, he doesn't have the ability to make her apostle and ruin her truma. And they're both learning from the same source. Tanagam Sovar. Ma kohen gadol ba'almana should be also b'havero poisel. Almana with the kohen gadol, the bia is an avera and he makes her apostle litruma afhainami poisel. So the mitzri also, his bia is a bia psula because he's a darsheni. He's not ready to come to Klal Yisrael, so he makes it that she can't eat truma any longer, forever. Rabbi Yossi Savar ke kohen gadol. Yes, I learned from a kohen gadol, but something else. Ma kohen gadol shizari pasul poisel, but the kohen gadol, his child is also a chal, also pasul, and he has the ability to passel the woman from eating truma. Of course, shizari pasul poisel. So to a mitzri, it has to be that the child is pasul, and then the mother is also to eat truma. Lapuki mitzri sheni, the entire pasul. But if he happens to be a second generation mitzri, that his child is already kosher lavei b'kol, so Mela, the mother is mutter b'truma d'chsiv banim asher yivaldu lehem dar shlish yavel lehem kal Hashem. Rabbi Shimon Gamliel. Yeah, I don't know if you heard yesterday. You weren't here. The Mori the Gevart. You said it real quickly. Say it again. Why is it? I don't know who says it, but why is it? Yishkoyach Reb Yosef. Here's a guy that slept maybe 4 hours, maybe not even. Shkoyach. How much? Hour and a half. Okay, I know for a fact that. Okay, 3 o'clock. He was already texting. Fine. Zog the Gemara. Oh, so no, I was in the middle of a vart. Very, very quickly. But it's a Musar Haskell for life. I wonder who says it. Maybe somebody will send it in. We'll know who it is. But why is that an Amayni Avi never come into Kahal forever? The men never come into Kahal. Mitzri and the Daimi come in after 3 generations. Oh, because the Amayni Avi, they had a lack of HaKaras HaTov. They're only in this world because of Avraham Avinu saving light. Their lack of HaKaras HaTov put them in the corner forever and ever. The Mitzrim, even though they did such crazy atrocities and all that stuff, no. They could come after three generations. Says the Gemara, okay, the Tanna Kama we know. Tanna Kama says, let's go back to that chart. Tanna Kama says, any puzzle in the world, the Mitzri Adoimi Mavi, everybody has the ability to passel. Since it's also for her to be with them, they passel her with one bia, she can't eat truma for the rest of her life. But what's the difference between Rabbi Yossi and Rabbi Shimon Gamliel? Another case. Amarula, ger amoinu me'avi ike beinayu. If a ger has relations with this woman, with this bas kohen, so she, or even Israelis who later on marries a kohen, since the ger, the amoni, his children, the next generation, the boys are going to be aser, the girls are going to be mutter. Because an amoinis could come into the kahal. So here we have a big nafkamina. That what? According to Rabbi Yossi, this ger, this amoini ger, it's a terrible thing if you think about it. He's an amoini, and he's a mamish l'shem shamayim. He can't. There's no shidduchim for him. He becomes a ger. Nobody can marry him. Only another amoinis, I guess. I don't know. Maybe not. No. She's a. I don't know. I have to look into it. Mamzeir. I don't know. But kitzer, it's very limited, the shidduch market. So he comes and he has relations with this bas kohen, let's say, this ger, this gewaldige guy, this gewaldige ger, but he has relations with the bas kohen. Now, the kids of this amoini, if it's a boy, asur lava b'kol, forever and ever. If it's a girl, she can marry into the cow. So Rabbi Yossi says that passes the mother from truma forever. Why? Because she has 50% chance of having a boy. The fact that she could have boys that are apostle, that's enough to passel. Rabbi Shimon Gamliel says no. The fakir, because she could have a kosher kid called a girl, then she never gets asur. She's not asur from eating truma. So the nafkamina between Rabbi Yossi and Rabbi Shimon Gamliel is only in Amoini and Mayavi, because they have the ability of having girls that are kosher. According to Rabbi Shimon Gamliel, that's not enough to passel the mother. According to Rabbi Yossi, it is enough to passel the mother. Why? Because the boys are apostle. As long as some of the tzitzit are. According to the Tanakama, forget about it. We don't look at the kids at all. He's apostle, he passels her. Next. Again, they're learning it from Kohen Gadol. Rabbi Yossi saw my Kohen Gadol b'almana shezari apostle poisel. Avkol shezari apostle poisel. Same story we had before. Rabbi Yossi says the Kohen Gadol, he passels the almana, and the children are also apostle. They become chalalim. Rabbi Shimon Gamliel saw my Kohen Gadol b'almana shekol zari apostle poisel. The difference is Kohen Gadol, all his children, boys and girls, are apostle. Of course, Zari Apostle Paisel, Apuki Amoni Mayavi, they ain't called Zari Apostle. But Amoni Mayavi, only the boys are apostle, the girls are not apostle. Damar Amoni Veloy Amoinis, Mayavi Veloy Mayavis, talking about Shvuas and Rost, that whole thing. Okay. Zog, the Halig and Mishnah, sponsored anonymously for a Zchus, for my wife and children. Highness. Person violates a woman. Vamefata, he seduces her. Vashoita, another mefata just means it was consensual, but there was no kiddushin. Vashoita. Vashoita brings back the memories, the unbelievable siyum that we had. You know, I said brings back memory because I don't know what took over me. I'm saying, what a shir we have. We have chasidim and litvaks, mesnagdim, shoitim and not shoitim. You don't remember I said something like that? Good. But I did. I have no idea why. The thing is that everybody was laughing because they're like, I'm going to show you. He's probably talking about that guy. Yeah. Okay, what? It was the Castell. Yeah. Any tzibur that lies, 1,000 people, there has to be at least one shaita there. Fine. So, a person that doesn't perform kiddushin, you just violated this woman one time, doesn't answer this woman from eating truma. The shaita who performed kiddushin, he had a whole chasen and everything, but it's well known that he has a certificate that he's meshuga. There's no kiddushin. It's not real kiddushin. So therefore, loy poislin. If she already eats truma, she's a bas kohen, she continues eating truma. V'loy ma'achilin. If this shaita is Mr. Kohen himself, he happens to be a descendant of a kohen, he doesn't have the ability to feed his wife truma because she's not his wife. If the oinus, this ma'anas guy, is a kohen himself, he's not going to give this woman that he's ma'anis truma. Vim einon ru'uyin lova b'Yisrael harei poislin. But let's say this ma'anis guy is a chalal, so ruins it for this woman. Ketzad, what's the case? Yisrael sheba al bas kohen toicha b'truma. If he's Yisrael who's ma'anis or mefata a bas kohen, she continues to eat truma. Huh? No, we're talking about chalal there. We'll see later. Ibra loy toicha b'truma. We just turned to the Samach Tes Amud Beis, sponsored by Moshe Horn in honor of the Gold Star, Moti Donut, sponsored anonymously as a Zechus for Moshe Yaakov ben Shoshana and both Ruchnis and Gashmias. Ibra loy toichal betruma. If she's pregnant, so we had this pasuk last night. If she could go back to her father's house like she was when she was younger, then she could eat truma. But this woman, she's not going back as is because she's pregnant. She's not in the same form. She cannot eat truma. Nechtach ha'ubar b'meyeh was cut out. The fetus was cut out like an abortion. Toichal. I'm saying that because here in Israel I understand that there's close to 20,000, maybe even more, abortions a year. And I'm saying it because don't forget about Efrat, right? That's the name of that organization. There's different organizations. Efrat helps people and they save a lot of some of these babies because they don't have money. So, so this is Pasha. If the whole thing is kinurel, she's not the same. She's not pregnant. Even if the baby is still inside, but the baby's not alive anymore. So she eats truma. She goes back to her father's house. Her father's a kohen. She eats truma. What happens if she had a baby? She had a baby. And Rahman al-San, the baby died 2 months later. She eats truma. She goes back to her father's house. So there's no nafkamina if the baby's outside and dies, the baby's inside and she still looks like she's pregnant, but she's not really pregnant. So Mela, she eats truma. Hoya kohen shabal bas Yisrael. If he's a kohen who has relations with Yisrael, loy toichal betruma. This ma'anis guy, is a kohen. She doesn't give her the ability to eat truma. But nebach ibra loy toichal. What happens if she's pregnant from this oinus? So you'd say, well, first of all, she's ibra. But the problem here, the bigger problem is that it wasn't l'shem kiddushin. Not l'shem kiddushin means it's not kinyanai. It says kayin kinyan kaspai. He has to acquire her. In order for her to start eating truma, she has to be acquired with kesef kiddushin. He obviously didn't do that. Yalda, but if she gave birth out of oina, she was violated and she had a child from that, toicha. Says the Mishnah, Nimtza koichai shel ben gadol mishal av. The fact that the father himself had relations with her did zero. He's just a ma'anas. He's a terrible guy. But the son that came out of that, he has more power than his own father because of that son, now she eats truma. Huh? No. It's two different halachas. She has a descent. She has a mishpach. She's mishpach with a kohen, so that gives her the ability to eat. He wasn't kohen to her, so it doesn't give her the ability to eat. It's two different things. It's just saying it happens to be. It's a funny thing, says the Mishnah. It's just you're looking at it. It's like, wow, the source, the father, doesn't have the power. The outcome has the power, but it's because of different reasons. Yeah. So if a Eved has relations with a woman, so she can no longer eat truma, but his descendant, a Eved descendant, doesn't count for anything. And we have a chart here. Ketzad, Bas Yisrael a Kohen, Bas Kohen Yisrael, the Yolda himenu ben, and Okay, let's see over here. Nichbash means it's a bad lashon. Over here we have a pasuk in Adonai Vitan Lo Isha, V'yolda Lo Banu Mebanas Isha V'yolodea Tia Ladinel. From over here you see that the son of a slave has no yichus to the father. The Adonai, the master gives his Jewish slave shifcha. It says Tia Ladinel. The kids are not his. They're not misiyachas to the father, misiyachas to the slave. Here's the story. We have a kohen who married anybody, and they had a daughter. What is that daughter called? A bas kohen. No, don't get too excited. Then, I see like, oh yeah, bas kohen. But it comes together with that's yeah. So Reuben marries this bas kohen. Reuben happens to be Yisrael. And they have a kid. Now, the reason I made him like that in the cartoon is because he's not a good kid. This kid, went ahead and he married a shivcha. So, what happens? What? Your wife is a Vaskine, that's right. Did you ever eat matanos? Zrel Chaim Mikeva? You get them? And just for the shtick of it. For the shtick, yeah. We were just talking about it yesterday. Okay. What's the kid that comes out of this relationship? What is it called? An Eved. That little guy, that little Naphtali guy, is an Eved. Why? Because it goes after the mother. The father has nothing to do over here. So take a look what happened. The father, the guy that came out, the cartoon stick, he went bye-bye. He's on his side. His father, the Yisrael, Reuven, is on his side. So it happens to be that this Bas Kohen has no descendants. Yeah? Let's see if I could. This lady right over here, she's a Bas Kohen. She never lost her husband. She lost her son. But the problem is we have this little guy, this Eved over here. If he's considered a Yisrael, then Miss Bas Kohen cannot eat truma anymore. Why? Because she has a descendant from Reuven. But this Eved is a zero. He's garnished. So Eved doesn't passel for truma. In Memela, the Bas Kohen goes back to her tati, the guy in the Hamburg, in the frak, and she eats truma as much as she wants. She has an Enika, little Naphtali running around. That's an Eved. It's garnished. Next. So let's just see inside. Bas Kohen Yisrael V'yolda. Hemenu ben. She had a son, the guy with the blue tzitzis, the character, the stick over there. Rashi says it's a lashon of gnai. He had relations with the shivcha. Hemenu ben, and they produced little Naphtali. Harei ze eved. Naphtali is a eved. Hoisa aim aviv bas Yisrael lekoyen lo yitoycha betruma. But what about this case? It's the same case as Rabbi, not to be confused, just a little, it's set up differently. We have Yisrael who had a daughter who married a Kohen. Over here, it's the reverse. We take Reuven, we put him on top, we take the Hamburg guy, and we put him on the bottom. So now the Bas Yisrael is married to a Kohen. Now that she's married to a Kohen, she could eat Truma because she's married to a guy that's a Kohen. But he dies. But before he dies, they had a child. And the child had relations with the Shivcha. And they had a little baby, and that's an Eved. So is it considered that she has a kid from a Kohen? She wants to have a child from a Kohen because she wants to eat Truma. But Mr. Eved, the little baby Eved, Naphtali, is not considered her child. And Memela, since her husband, let me just show over here, this guy died, and they don't have any descendants halachically, they only have a little Eved halachically, not halachically. So Memela, Bas Yisrael lady, goes back to her father, or whatever she does, but doesn't eat Truma. Very posh. Says the Gemara, says the Mishnah. Hoysoi aim Aviv, Bas Yisrael, aim Aviv, here. This is Aviv. Aim Aviv is Mrs. Bas Yisrael. Right over here. That's aim Aviv of this guy. This is the son, this is the father, aim. Okay. Just Yevamos lashon to confuse us. Bas kohen Yisrael, like we said before, toichel b'truma. Mamzer poisel machil. A mamzer is a child. So if you take that Naphtali Bennett guy and you say you put underneath him mamzer instead of eved, so he is considered a child. I was always worried that the Americans are gonna censor this. I'm not worried about the Israelis learning Daf Yomi. We're fine. We're good. They're not gonna pick up on this. Fine. Mamzer poisel machil. Ketzad bas Yisrael lekoyin bas koyin Yisrael. So here we go. Here's the same chart. Here we go. You see this? You have a Yisrael on top. He has a daughter. She's a bas Yisrael. She's married to the frat guy. He's a kohen. And they have a child. They have a daughter. The daughter is a no goodnik. She marries an Eved. What happens when an Eved marries the Israelis? The child is a mamzer. No, not a bas kohen. He's a bas Yisrael. No, you're right. But it's fine. It doesn't matter who she is. She produced a mamzer. Now the shaila is: does this help anybody? The fact that there's a child there in the world. Ketzad bas Yisrael lekoyin ubas koyin Yisrael v'yolda heimenu bas. They had a daughter, v'holcha bas v'nisis leved, and that daughter, the stick, went and married a slave. Oy loy v'kachavim v'yolda heimenu ben, and they had a child. They had a son. Harei ze mamzer. So therefore, what? Haisa aim imoy bas Yisrael. If this woman is a bas Yisrael who's married to a kohen, look what happened. This bas Yisrael's husband is a kohen, so she could eat truma, but the kohen went bye-bye. So the halacha is, if the kohen goes bye-bye and she has a child from that kohen, she remains and she could stay. She could eat truma. Guess what? She has a mamzer. Her grandson is a mamzer. And the mamzer is considered a child, legabi truma memela. This bas Yisrael continues to eat truma. Bas kohen Yisrael, lo yitachel b'truma. But if it's this way, the reverse, the Hamburg guy's on top. He's a kohen. He had a daughter, bas kohen, and the bas kohen married a Yisrael. So the mamzer is considered as if the Yisrael Reuven had a son, still has a son in this world, and memela bas kohen lady cannot go back to her tati to eat. It's over. Why? Because the little mamzer is considered her son. And it's Yisrael. Kohen gadol pamishu poisel. Sometimes a kohen gadol pasels. Ketzad. Bas kohen Yisrael v'yelamenu bas. So let's just look at the chart. Here we go. You have a kohen on top, and he has a daughter, a bas kohen. And the bas kohen gets married to Yisrael, and they have a daughter. And the daughter marries a kohen, some guy from the 5 towns. Their son could grow up to be the kohen gadol. Why not? It's a perfect marriage. Nothing happened. Nobody did any yisurim over here. A bas kohen married a Yisrael. The kohen, the daughter marries a kohen. So it's 2 kohanim. Great. The kid could be a kohen gadol. Ketzad bas kohen Yisrael v'yolda himenu bas v'holcha bas v'nisis lekohen v'yolda himenu ben harei ze roy liyus kohen gadol oy b'dim shamash gavim mizbeach. He could be a perfect kohen gadol. Machal es imoy upoisel aim imoy. So because he is a kohen, so his mother, the batayin lady, could eat truma. But the bas kohen who lost her husband, she married a Yisrael. Listen what's going on here. It's beautiful. The Yerushalmi lady married Reuven. Reuven is a Yisrael. So when she marries Reuven the Yisrael, she stops eating truma. And if she has a child or a descendant from Reuven, she can never eat truma. So this little kohen gadol guy is her descendant and is really acting as a Yisrael descendant, even though he himself is a kohen. Nothing wrong happened there. Nobody had any yisurim. But the bottom line is, she is a Bas Kohen who's married to Yisrael, and because of the Kohen Gadol, she cannot eat Truma because her husband is Yisrael. But her daughter, who married back into Kahuna, could eat. Great case. What? You're pointing at the chart. I have no idea what you're saying. What?
If the baby,
You don't have a laser.
if the baby dies,
Oh, if the Kohen Gadol dies, then the woman that has a red arrow on her, she goes back to her father, the Kohen, and eats Truma, of course. The problem is the little Kohen Gadol is alive and well, and Memela, she can't eat. What? No, it doesn't make a difference. It just says he could. He's the perfect Kohen. Even a Kohen Gadol. Imagine. Think about this. You're a Kohen Gadol. You're the highest level of kahuna in the world. Your own grandmother, because of you. Because of you, the Kohen Gadol, your grandmother can't eat Truma. If you weren't alive, you were a dead Kohen Gadol, your grandmother would eat Truma. You ruined it, and nothing happened. Without any Yisurim, you ruined it for a woman to eat Truma. It's a beautiful case. So this lady with the big fat red arrow, the Bas Kohen, she says, you shouldn't be more like you in the world. You're a terrible guy. My Einokol Kohen Gadol, I love you very much, but you're disgusting. Because of you, I can't eat Truma. There shouldn't be any more of yous. Says the Gemara, we learned in the Mishnah that a shaita, he doesn't have the ability to say, I'm married to this woman, and therefore she can't eat Truma. His Kiddushin doesn't do anything. The Torah Rabbanan, shaita v'katan shenasu nashim v'mesu, they got married illegally, and they died. She's saying, you don't even have to perform chalitza on the wife if he died without children. It's a zero kiddushin. They don't have the ability to acquire a woman. Says the Gemara, Keitzad Yisrael Shabal Bas Kohen Toichal B'Truma. Ibra Loi Toichal. So, if the Ma'anis, the violator, was a Yisrael who had relations, violated a Kohen, a Kehenes, and she is pregnant, she can't eat Truma. So, if you know for a fact that she's pregnant, she can't eat. But what if every case in the world, after her being violated, should be chayshish, maybe she's pregnant? Why? We're very familiar with this. I mean, like now we learned in the Mishnah, what happened? A very terrible story. At the chuppah, two women got switched. So there was kiddushin. They are ishes, but they never did nisuin. And at the chuppah, they just grabbed one woman. They both looked the same with the whole thing. Switched them at the chuppah, and they had relations with the wrong husband. So the halacha is that they must be separated for 3 months because we don't know who the child is. Now, we don't know that they're pregnant, but they have to separate from the husband for 3 months. So you see that even on one bia, or some say it's 2 bia, but nevertheless, on a very minor chashash, you have to separate them for 3 months. How come in our case, we're not chayshish for that? Only if you see that she's pregnant, then she can't eat truma. But what if you don't see? By the way, there's a crazy story. I heard this a number of times, that it was in the time of the Stipler, basically, let's call it at least 40 years ago. There was a guy that decided not to show up to his own chasana. He stood the whole chasana up. Everybody came to the wedding, he didn't show up. It happens sometimes. So they ran to the Stipler, and the Stipler said, is there a bacher in the yeshiva that's similar to the chassan? He said, yeah, there's a guy, mamish like him, saying masim and saying this. They go to the dormitory, the guy's sleeping. They will wake up, we have a chasana for you. It's all ready, the schnitzel's ready, the cow's waiting for you. What are you talking about? Stipler said, you're going to have Hatzlacha. Ma'aser shahaya, that's what they say. He said, okay, they met a little bit for 5 minutes, they had the band, they had the catering, everything is good, boom. So you're going to ask me, it's Nair Vayim. They didn't date, how do you get married like that? So first of all, this guy's in his 60s already today and has a bunch of kids and they're all the G'dayla Adar and everything's Givaldik. But if you ask, in certain circles, you ask the marriage counselor, they'll say no. By us, we have less divorce than by all those other people that date and all that stuff. Okay, fine. Ayin Sham. There's a lot of mices, by the way, a lot. I definitely read at least 1 or 2. You know these couples, they go to the hotel, and there's like 20 couples there. So the guy comes in, you're Chana? Yeah, I'm Chana. Boom. They sit down, they get married. Raw. The problem is you call up the Shadchan, it's like the wrong person. Like you get it's kids. Okay. Zog the Gemara. Where are we? When we're concerned about whose child it is, then you have to separate for 3 months. Over here, we're just talking about her eating truma, not eating truma. We don't have to be worried about a chashash pregnancy. It says Gemara, truma lechashu. What do you mean? A Kohen is married to Yisraelis, and he's worried, he doesn't have children, and he's worried that if he dies as is, what's going to happen? His wife is going to fall, liyibom, he knows his brothers. Yeah? So he tells his wife, take this get, and let's just stay married until the last second. 1 moment before his death, the get goes into effect. But he's a Kohen and she's eating truma, asur lecha b'truma miyad, you have to be choishish, maybe he'll die the next moment. Every moment she puts an apple into her mouth, that's truma, maybe he's going to die the next moment, and she's eating truma. Ella, so what do you see? So you see that you have to be choishish even for truma. So now we're saying a yisoid, and we had this yisoid before, that when a person is violated, they do whatever they can do not to be pregnant. And one of the things the Gemara talks about is misapeches. They flip over, they do also, I don't know how it works exactly, but it was able to work. Rashi tells both agree to this concept of misapeches. That happens by znus. But when a person thinks that she's with her real husband, she only realizes the next day, she doesn't do misapeches. She doesn't take any measures to abort this pregnancy. And therefore, we have to be choishish. That's why they have to separate for 3 months. Says Gemara, are we concerned? So Rashi says, you see from the end of the sugya, Rashi says in Mefurish, he proves that this is what happened. It's a very tragic case. They got married, the chassan died the night of the marriage. That same day. What's the halacha? Toiveles v'yicheles b'truma l'erev. You can see in this pasuk right over here, every woman becomes tamei through bia, and therefore you have to go to the mikvah. So this woman who just got married, she's with her husband one time, she has to go to the mikvah in order, and she could eat truma. It's a little interesting. Levaya, the whole thing, fine. She's going to the mikvah, running and eating truma. So what do you see from here? That we're not choishish, perhaps she's pregnant. You just said she got married, she thought everything is good. There's no reason she should do misapeches. And therefore, it's possible she's pregnant. But if she's pregnant, how could she just go and eat truma? Says the Gemara, she's a bas kohen again. She's eating truma because she went back to her father's house. But perhaps she's pregnant with the Yisrael's pregnancy, and therefore she can't eat truma. No, you're right. It's very interesting. For the first 40 days, she has freebie. We don't consider her pregnant. Why? Because if she didn't get pregnant, she's not pregnant, and she could eat truma because she's a bas kohen, she goes back to her father's house. And if she is pregnant, the Gemara tells a big chiddush here that it's not considered that she's pregnant the first 40 days. It's tam nothing, right? It's Arba'im Yom Kodim Yitzir Savlad. Yitzir Savlad takes 40 days. It says in the Seifa that if you see that she's pregnant, she has to go pay back all the truma that she ate. When a person eats truma by mistake, what do? They pay back the truma plus a fifth. So she has to pay back. Says Gemara, no, it means from 40 days and on, she has to pay back. But the first 40 days, it's a freebie. Unfortunately, we have to stop right over here. Have a wonderful day.